plaintiff, Holly Berger, says the defendant is her daughter, and she completely changed once she got with her husband, the co-defendant. Holly claims her son-in-law is physically and mentally abusive, but her daughter will do anything to be with him. Holly's suing them today for unpaid rent, bathroom repairs, and emotional distress. Defendants Sarah Kennedy and her husband Tyler say Holly has been physically abusive to Sarah for as long as she can remember. Sarah claims Holly pushed her down the stairs, dragged her down the street, and hit her. And the final straw was when her sister walked in on Holly throwing a TV at Sarah. They're countersuing for stolen money.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
Start with you.
I love my daughter very much, and I am sad that it has came to this, but she is completely different since she has been with Tyler. She's a completely different person.
How long has that been?
This time, a couple of years.
No, when she became completely different.
Right after high school.
All right. How has she changed?
He is very controlling. He's very physically and mentally abusive towards her. She is so deeply in love with him, she will do anything she can to be with him. He was a very popular kid in high school, and she was more of a loner, so she would do anything to be with him.
You've seen some of his controlling and abusive ways?
I have, and I saw him...
Give me some examples.
I saw him devastate her. I know he put her through public humiliation. He has gotten together with their friends and gone over some of her promiscuity, some of her activities that she has done. He's publicly humiliated her. He said things on Facebook.
Have you brought any of these issues up to her? And if so, what has she said?
I have. She loves him and will do anything for him.
Okay, has your boyfriend devastated you?
My husband has not, no. We're perfectly happy married couple. We have a
He's
daughter.
never devastated?
Never. Well, we've had our on and offs. We've been on and off together since school. We've known each other a long time. We've had fights, but we love each other very much.
Not controlling and abusive
Not at all.
Consistently or regularly? Like, why do you think your mother's saying these things?
My mother is very abusive. She was very physically and mentally abusive my whole life since I was born.
Since what age?
Since I was born. She has hated how close me and my father are, and she's been very physically and abusive as far back as I can remember.
Give me some examples.
When I was 14, it came to a head. She would throw me down the stairs, drag me down the street. If I threw up while she was hitting me, she would push my face into the throw up. She was very, very physically abusive my whole life, very mentally abusive, very toxic to everyone.
No one challenged her on any of this?
It was never seen. She would do it when it was just me and her. It was finally caught when I was 14. My sister walked in on her throwing a TV on me, my oldest sister, and she intervened and she said, I believe Sarah now, and this is not okay. Shortly after that, my mother and my father got divorced, and me and my siblings all moved in with my father.
At age 14?
It was, I want to say I was 15, 16,
or so?
Around there, yes.
All right.
At that time, my mom had ran away with our family friend, and she had gotten married. He was a great stepdad and everything, but because of how she'd handled the situation, my family was not accepting of
Ma'am, you
him.
want to address any of these things?
That is not true. She has not been abused her whole life.
Did she leave and go and live with her father?
A few years after the divorce, quite
Why?
a few years after the divorce.
About what age?
16?
Why?
17?
I'm just curious.
Why? Because
Yes.
she prefers to stay with her dad and have her own space. I have fought
She didn't have her own space with him. She was living with Dad.
I was raising 4 of my grandchildren. I became adult foster care.
And so she said, Mom, I don't want to deal with all this.
Right.
Can I move with Dad? And
Yep.
you were all right with it?
Yep.
All right, good enough. Let's move on, ma'am, to what is the rent and bathroom repairs you're suing for?
She stopped paying rent in October because
When did she move in on your property?
she moved in September of 2014. She was living with me prior to the rental property becoming available, and they both lived with me. And they were going to get married, and the family was against it, but I tried to be supportive. I allowed them to stay with me at the house until my rental property
Whose family
became...
was against it?
Both of our families were
Why?
against it, mine and his, because of what had transpired earlier and how serious it
And
was.
what was that? You keep saying he devastated her. Is that what you're referring to when he devastated her?
Yes. And
You
hurt
don't
her
want to tell me
beyond
what he
all-
did?
He hurt her very bad.
Hurt her physically?
Yes. And
All right, you're being very vague, ma'am, so
he's
it's hard
given her
to believe you.
STDs. He's made her have abortions. He's made her sleep with his. He's allowed his family to hurt her and physically abuse her. There's been police reports at his parents' house. There's been a number of problems between them.
And you say she's making all of this up?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, just as we speak, she's just coming up with it.
She's been saying it.
She
she's
sounds
been saying
very
it for
fluid.
years.
She didn't
years.
hesitate. She sounds very fluent. She sounds very convincing, quite frankly. Once I start pulling it out of her, she sounded like perhaps she was a little embarrassed to say it in public. And once I start pulling it out of her, boy, does she start running it off. And so you're suing her today because she moved in September 14 and missed how many months of rent, and what happened thereafter?
They told me about the bathtub being cracked in October, and
Of 14, right after moving in.
15, October of 15.
A year later.
Yes.
A year later,
go
they
into-
said the bathtub is cracked.
They did not want anyone to do the work on the tub or the repair of the tub other than her father because they had a grow room in the house that was not approved by me.
Marijuana grow room?
Yes.
Who had it?
They did in
Okay.
my property, my rental property, without my consent. They have dogs, they have cats, and all of this is against my. They broke the lease on several levels.
Okay.
He hurt her very bad.
Hurt her physically?
Yes. And
All right, you're being very vague, ma'am, so
he's
it's hard
given her
to believe you.
STDs. He's made her have abortions. He's made her sleep with his. He's allowed his family to hurt her and physically abuse her. There's been police reports at his parents' house. There's been a number of problems between them.
Plaintiff Holly Berger is suing her daughter and son-in-law, and she claims her son-in-law is physically abusive and even forced her daughter to have sex with his relative.
All right, you all want to tell me about this?
Absolutely. When we moved in, the tub was broke, amongst many other things. We moved in as is because
When
of
did you first complain to her about it?
upon moving in. We moved in
Okay.
the weekend people had moved out. We went with
She
her
said
when
she'd
she
fix
did.
it?
She gave us a little putty. We put the putty on there. She said that's exactly how she wanted it. It held up for a couple months and then it came off. So she gave us duct tape. We put duct tape in the shower. The duct tape did not hold up. It came up a week later. It slowly got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. She pulled the tub in November and they didn't put a new tub in until December. We were a month and a half without a tub. Shortly after everything had happened with the tub, I said, we were completely paid up on rent. I paid her in November. I paid her in November and December of rent. She said, okay, then in January you need to pay me. I said, okay. But then the tub had been taken out, so we said we will not pay you any more money until we have a working tub. She wasn't fixing it, wasn't doing it. She was not helping me. We have receipts that we've had to pay for the
see it?
tub. Yep. We got our receipts right here.
We got
And then we have all of the
case report too.
Yes, we have the case report. Shortly after everything happened, she called me on January 2nd that morning, and she said, do you have rent and my movies that I want? I said, Mom, I don't know what movies you were talking about. I do not have rent. I told you that I will pay you the rent that we had it. I was working. But I said, I will pay it to you when the tub is finished. She said, I'm coming down. I went and I locked the door. I heard a couple minutes later, I heard her at the door. I went and I opened the door. She was playing with our dog outside. She said she was going to let him off the leash if I didn't come outside and talk to her about rent.
Let him off the lease?
Correct. His leash.
Leash,
He was hooked
okay.
up on his leash with his
I
harness
thought you
and
made
everything.
the dog sign the lease
no.
also. All right. He's going to make you all pay, but let the dog get off free. Got it. All right.
Absolutely.
But
No,
leash.
she was saying she was gonna let the dog off the leash if I didn't talk to her. So I opened the big door and I left. There's a glass door. It's kind of like a screen door, but it's made of glass, just like the wind storm door, but it locks and latches. So I locked it and I stood there and I talked to her. I said, I will see you in court. You need to finish the tub. I will pay you when the tub is done. We will have the money. We do have the money, and I will pay it to you when it is all finished. She said, okay. And then she ripped the door off the hinges. She pushed me. She punched me in the face. I hit my head, falling onto the ground. When I came to, she was rummaging in our bedroom. I seen her walk from our bedroom to the grow room, which we have a padlock on, like the cops had told us we had to have on our legal grow room. She grabbed my purse, she grabbed my money, she grabbed my wallet, and she took off running. When the police got there, they went down. They asked her where my purse, where my money was. She said it was at her house. She went down there. She got the money for the police, gave the police officers $100 and said that's what she took from me. I told the police officers no, that there was still $600 unaccounted for and missing. She said that she didn't rip the door off the hinges, that the door was already ripped off the hinges and broken, which it was not.
First of all, ma'am, she couldn't possibly be lying with all this description and fluidity in her testimony and sounds so concise and descriptive. tell me your side, and I hope you can describe it like her, because no one can remember that much of a lie. Go ahead.
I bought the tub in October, and within 2 weeks, her father had the tub installed and working. She refused to pay rent even after the bathtub was repaired because it wasn't fixed to her standards and it wasn't completed.
She wasn't going to pay for the time in which it was in disrepair, which is within her legal right. So what did you do as a result of her refusal to pay?
I went down there on January 2nd.
Down to their place?
Yes. I went to collect the
And
rent
what happened?
and to see the progress on the tub.
And what happened?
She's standing in, I walked up onto on the deck, I petted the dog, she's standing inside the glass door. I opened the glass door, I walked past her, I walked down the hallway. I went into the hallway, I walked into the bathroom. I said, the tub's not been caulked, the wall's not done, the drywall's not done, none of this job is done. This all needs to be done. I walked back out.
That's why they stopped paying you, man.
I saw the locks. There's 3 padlocks on the one door, and I walked back down the hallway. She was on the phone with the police. She said that I hit her. She said that I assaulted her. She said I ripped the door off the hinges, which it was not. She said I broke the lock, which was already broken. I come back out into the thing. I said, Sarah, what are you doing? What are you doing? I thought she was on drugs again. I standing at the back door, I see her purse. I walk outside, I look to see if there's drugs in there. I didn't see anything. I took the thing, I set it down on the ground right there at the bottom of the stairs, and I walked home. The police came.
So you didn't take any money out?
I took $107 in cash, and I left the 4 uncashed checks.
Why didn't you take money
Because I was
out of
afraid
her
she was going to
purse?
go get drugs again that night.
Okay, you stole from her to keep her from spending it on drugs. And the rent that you're suing for, which months does she owe you for?
October through March.
All right, for 6 months she didn't pay. And you serve any papers to evict her?
I did. When
You have a copy of them?
I do. I
All
filed.
right. Anything that you have indicating that she failed to pay you 6 months of rent. You notified her in any way.
Eviction.
Let's see that in writing. Because her story sounds a lot more convincing than yours. Yours, particularly the last part, sounds unbelievable that you went into her purse, saw her money, and stole it to keep her from buying drugs in the midst of everything else that was going on. It dawns on you, I forgot she uses drugs. Let me look in her purse while we're doing all this fighting, all this arguing about the rent. Suddenly your mind clicks. Drugs, what am I thinking? All right, baby, don't worry about that rent. Hold off, we'll argue about that in a minute. Let me look in your purse. All right, baby, I'm gonna take this money so you don't use it for drugs, you or your husband. All right, now let's get back to fighting. Sounds highly unbelievable, ma'am. That's all I'm saying. That part, that's what I said, the last part.
Then she ripped the door off the hinges. She pushed me. She punched me in the face. I hit my head, falling onto the ground. When I came to, she was rummaging in our bedroom. I seen her walk from our bedroom to the grow room. She grabbed my purse, she grabbed my money, she grabbed my wallet, and she took off running.
Plaintiff Holly Berger is suing her daughter and son-in-law, and she claims her son-in-law is physically abusive and even forced her daughter to have sex with his relative.
Enclosed for filing is the following: a motion to dismiss. You filed a motion to dismiss all of the things you just told me occurred. And you said that you gave me paperwork showing that you filed for eviction, when in fact the paperwork you gave me was a motion to dismiss. All right, I'm going to dismiss your claim. Don't believe what you've said. What you've presented to me is inconsistent. Therefore, I'm going to believe her and grant her $600. Your claim is dismissed. $600 is granted. Good luck to you and your husband.
We have no contact. I haven't seen my granddaughter since Thanksgiving. There's no contact whatsoever. Her and Tyler have completely destroyed the family, or what was left of it.
My family stands 100% behind me and Tyler and our child, and we're gonna move on with our lives after this.